Many thanks for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 News Hour on this first day of September 2020. My name is Edward Kabasa. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up for you tonight. But first, let's have the highlights.
The tribunal unanimously recommended to His Excellency the President that the Honorable Mr. Justice D.K. Njagi Marete ought not to be removed from the office of the judge.
Not guilty. Employment and Labour Court Judge Justice Njagi Marete cleared by tribunal appointed by President to investigate his conduct.
There has been a challenge in contact tracing, particularly in specific localities, especially in some of the hotspots.
Headache in the missing link. Ministry of Health says contact tracing for coronavirus infection an uphill task. Following suit, Migori Governor Kotobado hanging on a thin line as ODM gives a nod to the County Assembly to impeach him following graft charges. And a colonial 6-kilometer underground tunnel grips the attention of Maria Shoni residents in Nakuru County. Your audience is always welcome. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Lensa Odingo. Employment and Labour Relations Court Judge Njagi Marete has been reinstated after the tribunal appointed by President Uhuru Kenyatta to investigate his conduct cleared him of any wrongdoing. The tribunal, led by retired Court of Appeal Judge Al-Nashir Visram, found no merit on all accusations facing the judge. The complaint against Judge Marete was filed by the Kenya Tea Growers Association, and he was suspended from office after the Judicial Service Commission forwarded a petition to the President to set up a tribunal to probe the matter.
After receiving oral submission from 18 witnesses, the tribunal investigating the conduct of suspended Justice Njagi Marete of the Employment and Labour Relations Court has returned a no guilty verdict. The tribunal, led by retired Court of Appeal Judge Justice Al-Nashir Visram, said after thoroughly sieving through all evidence tendered by the witnesses and applying the law of land of fairness and principle of equity, found that the sole allegation of gross misconduct or misbehavior contained in a petition by the Judicial Service Commission presented to the President on May 2019 was not proven and could not stand.
And recalling the definition adopted by this tribunal for gross misconduct or misbehavior, we find no merit in the sole allegation of gross misconduct or misbehavior against the Honorable Judge. In consideration of all the evidence tendered and having found that the allegations against the Honorable Judge was not proved,
the tribunal recommending that the judge ought not to be removed from office,
the tribunal unanimously recommended to His Excellency the President that the Honorable Mr. Justice D.K. Njagi Marete ought not to be removed from the office of the Judge of the Employment and Labour Relations Court of Kenya.
In June last year, Justice Marete, through his lawyer Gitobu Imanyara, moved to the court seeking to stop the setting up of a tribunal, pending the determination of his petition challenging his allegation. The complaint against the Employment and Labour Court judge was filed by the Kenya Tea Growers Association, claiming the judge had issued orders in a matter that he was well aware that the case had been handled by another judge, rendering the first ruling nugatory. But he defended himself and said the order related to two different applications and as such there was no conflict. The suspended judge, however, lost the case when the court ruled that he had not demonstrated that his rights had been uninfringed. And after 1 year of waiting, the judge is reeling in victory.
Contact tracing is still a major challenge, derailing Kenya's fight against COVID-19. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman acknowledges the country cannot determine the exact number of infections, confirming concerns by the World Health Organization, which says the curve is not flattening as perceived. The revelation comes as the country confirmed 114 new coronavirus cases with no death reported in the last 24 hours. Purity Musa with that report.
On Monday, the World Health Organization (WHO) faulted Kenya's testing strategy for COVID-19, saying it has been focused on low-risk groups. In a statement, the United Nations International Public Health Agency further cautioned against interpretation of the drop in COVID-19 cases in the country to mean decline in the spread of the disease. A day later, the Ministry of Health confirmed contact tracing, especially in the capital city, Nairobi, is a headache.
There has been a challenge in contact tracing, particularly in specific localities, especially in some of the hotspots, like Nairobi County being one of those hotspot areas. If you will recall that as this pandemic and the numbers started growing in the country, and you begin to pick up more and more positive cases, equally then the network of contacts becomes almost an exponential number.
This perhaps explains the decline in confirmed cases lately. In the last 24 hours, 114 Kenyans tested positive for the novel coronavirus from 1,682 samples.
114 people have tested positive, bringing to 34,315 the number of confirmed positive cases. From the cases, all are Kenyans except one foreigner. 93 of them are male and 21 are female. The youngest is a 1-year-old infant. The oldest is 85.
So far, Nairobi has the highest number of infections at 19,494, followed by Kiambu with 2,524 cases. Mombasa is third with 2,387 cases, followed by Kajiado, which has 1,878. In Machakos, 1,246 people have tested positive for coronavirus, while Busia, which is ranked 6th, has 1,087 confirmed cases.
318 patients have recovered from the disease. 263 of them have been released from home-based care program, and 55 have been discharged from various health facilities where they were receiving care. The total recoveries now stands at 20,211.
Meanwhile, Kenya is among selected countries in sub-Saharan Africa, South America and North America that will participate in a new study dubbed COVID-PN 5001, aimed at making researchers understand the novel coronavirus better and possibly come up with a vaccine. Dr. Grace Mboya, a researcher at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, says 800 respondents from the 3 regions will participate.
Hii study itafuatilia walioambukizwa na COVID-19, wale ambao wasio na dalili yoyote, wale ambao wako na dalili ya chini, na wale kikundi cha mwisho ni wale walioathirika zaidi na COVID-19 na waliolazwa hospitalini.
With the schools expected to reopen in January, the Minister of Health says it is not clear whether children will remain asymptomatic to COVID-19 disease or even become the super spreaders. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Thank you, Purity Museo, for that report. The Kenya Forest Service is engaged in a standoff with the Ministry of Sports over illegal logging in Ngong Forest. KFS arrested 7 employees of a company engaged by the Ministry of Sports to clear part of the forest for the expansion of a stadium under construction. KFS is now demanding 1.2 million shillings as compensation from the ministry for the destruction.
A standoff looms between the Ministry of Sports and that of Environment over illegal logging at Ngong Forest. The contention created by the appetite of the Ministry of Sport to expand the Jamhuri Sports Ground. Now KFS claims the ministry has to pay 1.2 million shillings for cutting down 121 trees without a moratorium from the Ministry of Environment.
As Kenya Forest Service Board Chairman, we're trying to attain a 10% tree cover. But meanwhile, we find another government body, Ministry of Sports, involved in destruction of this magnitude. Mine, as chairman of Kenya Forest Service, is to say that this is very wrong. This is the wrong example that the Ministry of Sports is giving to Kenyans. They cannot, and no one can enter a forest compartment to cut trees without the express authority of the Kenya Forest Service. This is destruction that we cannot accept. The value to the government of Kenya or the treasury is 1.2 million. As Kenya Forest Service, I insist, or I wish to insist, that we are repaid for this destruction.
The chief conservator at the forest, Julius Kamau, maintaining that they will not allow destruction of the few forests in the country unless legal channels are followed. Kamau stating that the Ministry of Sports was acting in bad faith and must follow procedure if it wants forest land annexed for the stadium.
It is very clear that every public forest has boundaries. The boundaries must be able to be protected with integrity and ensure that they are all protected. And basically what we are seeing here is that the boundary is clear, and we are happy to confirm those boundaries to the relevant agencies to make sure there is no infringement into this territory and ensure that this does not happen. And therefore we are dealing with two issues. One, infringement on boundaries on public forest without the proper procedure, and also cutting trees on public land without exemption or moratorium by the CS Minister of Environment and Forestry, and which Kenya Forest Service as a lead agency we are tasked to enforce to the letter.
For now, KFS says the cleared area is forest land and the Ministry of Sports is an intruder and not welcome.
Let's take a look at some politics now. The Orange Democratic Movement has called for the impeachment of Migori County Governor Zachary Okoth-Obado following his arraignment in court over corruption charges. ODM has directed its members in the Migori County Assembly to initiate the process of recalling the governor, arguing that his continued stay in office betrays the party's position on the war against graft. Obado, who is currently out on bail, has been barred from office until his case is heard and determined. The Orange Party says it has lost faith in the leadership of Migori County Governor Okoth-Obado and will forthwith commence the process of impeaching the embattled governor. A total of 37 out of 41 ODM MCAs attended Tuesday's meeting, where it was agreed that the party used its numerical advantage in the Migori County Assembly to vote out the governor.
For Migori County to continue functioning, we need to make a decision. It may be a painful one, but it is the decision that can be made. That is to have the governor of Migori County impeached by the county assembly.
Governor Obado, his children and the co-accused were released on bail on Monday with a raft of strict terms.
And by the way, this has nothing to do with any personal feelings. It is just about the functioning of the county.
Upon his release on bail, the Migori governor, who has been barred from office, hit out at ODM for plotting his impeachment before his case is heard and determined. The move by ODM now sets in motion a protracted battle of political wits with the embattled governor, who has blamed his woes on his political relationship with Deputy President William Ruto.
Migori is bigger than an individual. He would have just resigned because he knows he's not going to have an opportunity to discharge his duties. Why hold the county at ransom?
In 2013, Obado weathered the ODM storm in Nyanza to clinch the gubernatorial position on a little-known People's Democratic Party (PDP). He later joined ODM ahead of the 2017 general election and retained his seat. In other matters, a mysterious underground tunnel that has been in existence for the last 76 years continues to baffle residents of Mariashoni area in Molo, Nakuru County. The 6-kilometer-long concealed tunnel, said to have been constructed by the colonial settlers during the Second World War, has since remained abandoned, with its unique design slowly disintegrating. And while locals sharply remain divided over the mandate of the tunnel by the colonialists, the colossal structure housed a school that was attended by the notable Africans, as locals now call on the government to recognize the area as a historic site.
For many years, locals within the Mariashoni area of Molo constituency have harbored a little secret among themselves. That of neighboring one unique structure that they too cannot unravel its cause of existence. This underground tunnel, estimated to be about 6 kilometers, it is made out of quarry stones and reinforced with steel and concrete. It is now slowly crumbling due to its old age, but little is known about it. 62-year-old Joseph Chemaina, however, learned something from his father about the structure. It was completed in 1944, done by the colonialists, and was well guarded by the colonial police officers.
Wazungu walikuwa wamepanda maua pale Rongai chini. Sasa ilifuatilia hii mto ikaenda ikatega maji. Mali inaitwa Kishagi. Sasa hiyo maji hata saa hii bado inaendelea kutengenezwa hiyo maji.
The structure is a bit narrow at the entry point, but the tunnel widens as you progress inward, enabling one to maintain an upright posture.
Tulikuwa tukiingia tu mpaka mwisho na kulikuwa na ngazi ya kutokea kwa ile shimo ya mwisho. Ilikuwa imewekwa ngazi 7. Ya juu ni paranda ya kupumuzikia, ni kama meza hivi. Tulikuwa tukiingia hata watu kutoka mbali, Nyahururu, Kiambu, wapi, walikuwa wanakuja tu kwa watoto wa shule.
Ndani iko section 1, unaenda unainama, section ya pili, section ya 3 unaenda unaisimama. Alafu iko karibu section mpaka 10. Maji unakuta pale lingine imeteremka hivi, unaweka pale lingine maji inateremka pole pole. So alikuwa ameweka plaster mzuri. Kutoka pale tumeingia karibu kilomita 1 na kitu. Lakini pale tumebakisha huko mbele imefungana sababu matope imeporomoka. So hatukufika mwisho sababu ni mbali paka kwa mlima huko.
At the tail end of the tunnel there was a school that was later closed as the fight for freedom heightened.
Hata kuna mmoja aliyeweza kusoma mpaka ikakuwa MB, ilikuwa inaitwa Jenga Mungai. Na ingine ilikuwa inaitwa Chotara.
Chemaina also recalls that the contractor did not maintain one single group of laborers.
Ikimaliza mwezi mmoja inarudishwa na haiwezi rudishwa tena pande hii. Hiyo imemaliza kazi, inapelekwa kabisa, inaletwa ingine, inabadilishwa. Baka wakati hiyo shimo ilianza kumalizika, ikawekwa mlango, ilikuwa imeenda round hivi.
But the reason behind such an investment is still not clear among the dwellers here. Some say it was a bomb shelter in the battle between British Prime Minister Winston Churchill forces and Adolf Hitler-led German army. Others maintain it was a harmless canal constructed to carry water from a nearby stream to a distribution point for onward supply to white settlers' farms. And as historians and government officials are yet to take any interest in the existence of the tunnel, locals are proposing that perhaps it could be developed into a historical site.
Serikali hakuja angalia vile yanaweza saidia hata kufence hapo sababu watoto anaweza ingia kuangalia maneno ya hatua huko ndani waporomokee huko.
Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Thank you very much, Kamche Menza, for that report. I know Irene Muchuma Odim now has a duty to do, of course, magical scenes. She will take a look at that, I hope so. We have a couple of responses on Facebook as well. Thank you very much for your audience. Of course, this live broadcast is streaming on Facebook. I see Franklin Odhiambo. Thank you very much. And there is Bashir Were from Busia. Thank you very much for your audience as well. Wilson Sigay, Langat Nick watching from Mutongolo Kisumu, Kennedy. Then there is also Oyando Wycliffe. Thank you very much. You're watching from Kisii. There is Cyprian Saningo. And then there is Betty Mwea. Thank you very much. Those are our viewers from Facebook. You can also join in, stream this live broadcast on Facebook as well. It is KBC Channel 1 TV. We are taking a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We still have plenty more lined up for you.
Every Saturday and Sunday, KBC rejuvenates your weekend with gospel tunes and strengthen your faith with the word. As we bring you Seventh-day Adventist Sermon, Saturdays at 10 a.m.
In the Bible, we can find answers to life's most important questions.
The Holy Mass on Sundays at 9:30 a.m.
Mwana kondoo wa Mungu aondoaye dhambi za dunia. Tazameni yeye anayetuponya magonjwa yetu yote ya mwili na ya roho.
The All Saints Cathedral at 11 a.m.
Pray that the Lord Jesus Christ may raise you to be a witness.
KBC Channel 1.
On the next episode of Corner.
Madhe. Habari madhe.
Wow. Nisamehe kwa kukosa kusalamia mkono ule ukuumiza.
Tunaweza try. Ndio tunataka.
I want to be happy. Nataka ukuwe happy pia.
We are not quitters.
Ukienda hautaona ndoto yako tena.
Jamani tafadhali.
Wangu si loji mtu wa kutumia alafu tupo nje.
Can you please shut up and listen for once?
How dare you speak to us like
Louis, I'm tired.
Next on.
I've been thinking about him a lot. I want to find him so that I could try to fix things between us.
Well, go ahead and do it. It wouldn't be a bad idea for him to come back and live with us.
You're a liar. It's the one thing you despise the most in this world. How can you expect me to believe you? Ramon Ortiz, how many times did I ask you to do things with careful thinking and not just following your impulse?
Come on, Mother, what's wrong with us wanting to get married?
What's with the suitcase? Seeing that nobody wants me to marry Ramon, I'm going to live with him.
In Love with Ramon.
Welcome back. The government has embarked on the second phase of improving the Nairobi River sewage system, a program targeted to be completed by the year 2023. The second phase is expected to increase the sewage coverage to 70% from the current 48% attained in phase 1.
Efforts to effectively manage waste and wastewater in Nairobi City, which is largely populated, continues to gear up. The Ministry of Water launching an 11 billion shillings project that will ensure universal and equitable access to safe and affordable water for all.
The first phase is there, you know it, the old one. We now need to do the second phase so that we can bring all the sewer from the Kikuyu, from Ruaka, from Kahawa, Endani, all those estates, Mweki, Zimmerman, all those. They will take their sewer to the Roai phase 2.
Water Principal Secretary Joseph Irungu said the planned investment will enhance the provision of reliable, safe and sustainable urban sanitation services in Nairobi City with a view of contributing to improved access and increased economic activities.
To use it for that purpose, we want to look into the future of this city. It's a growing city. Today it has 5 million residents. It may grow to 10 million or even more. So we have to know how to manage our sewerage.
The project will expand access to sewerage services, eliminate pollution of Nairobi rivers, and protect them as alternative water sources through the construction of secondary reticulation networks and last-mile connection.
80% of the water that comes ends up being wastewater. So where do we take that wastewater? Unless we develop ROI, we bring in that phase 2 of the water treatment plant, we bring a phase 3, because the RAD is there. Then the waste may end up in rivers.
Phase 1 of the Nairobi River sewerage system improvement that was executed between 2012 and 2017 attained a 48% success. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Truck drivers at the Busia border have protested the move by the Ugandan government to introduce charges amounting to 6,500 shillings per COVID-19 test. The drivers lament that the cost is too high, bearing in mind the little allowances they get from their employers. The new development has seen traffic snarl up at the border town.
A crisis looms at the Busia border following exorbitant COVID-19 fee from the Ugandan side on Kenyan truck drivers. According to the drivers, the Ugandan authorities have introduced charges amounting to 6,500 shillings to undergo the COVID-19 test. Subsequently, a major traffic snarl-up is building on the Kenyan side, considering that all the drivers have resorted to crossing to Kenya, where the exercise is done free of charge.
Hakuna truck driver hata moja atakao kuwa na uwezo wa kulipa hiyo 7,000. Hiyo 7,000 mileage yake iko pale pale. Kwa hivyo yani kitakachotokea ni kwamba kampuni kama kampuni nyingi istaramizimika hata kuongeza bei ya transport.
Iliingia hapa tarehe 29 wakakataa hizo resort hapa Busia border. Sasa imebidi tena nipimo Uganda date 30th. Mpaka leo sijapata resort zangu.
Right now watu wameavoid kwenda kupima Uganda. Ndio unaona sasa tumekuja upande wa Kenya. Hatuwezi kwenda Uganda kama unaambiwa uwe na receipt ya kuonyesha umelipia bank slip I think. Uonyeshe kuwa umefanya nini? Umelipa ndio uweze kupimwa.
The daily average numbers of samples taken at the port health ranges between 180 and 300, an overwhelming number affecting the economy. Leaders have said the numbers are overwhelming and will be a major challenge, urging the Kenyan and Ugandan authorities to move with speed and address the situation.
Economically, this is affecting the region because lining trucks here for a whole week or 3 to 4 days and keeping results for over 24 hours is not helping anything.
Kwa hivyo ni neno ambalo linatakiwa lishughulikiwe upesi kati ya Kenya na Uganda kiserikali na kidiplomasia kujua ni njia gani tunaweza kutatua, kwa sababu tukiwa wakaaji wa Busia na serikali ya kaunti ya Busia itakuwa ngumu.
Ruth Wamboi for Channel 1 News.
Let's talk about other matters now. Communities affected by human-wildlife conflict between 2017 and 2020 period will soon be compensated if the government makes good its promise. Tourism and Wildlife Principal Secretary Professor Fred Sigor says they will spend 524 million shillings to settle pending claims countrywide, even as they embark on fencing off unsecured parks to avert similar incidences in future.
Human-wildlife conflict continues to be a thorn in the flesh of both communities affected and authorities. One hand, communities often decry the compensation process, which they term as slow, while authorities at times struggle to identify genuine cases. Wildlife and Tourism Principal Secretary Professor Fred Segor acknowledges lack of proper laws to govern the process and shortage of funds are a major hindrance to payment of compensation claims.
It has taken us almost 4 years to finish the backlog between 2013 and 2017. We have now summarized the compensation for 2017. Very soon, in the course of the year, we will start working on the compensation of 2017 coming to 2020.
Professor Segor is, however, encouraging victims not to give up just yet as the government is finalizing modalities of settling pending claims by December this year.
We've discussed widely with Treasury so that they continuously increase the amount of money for such compensation. So it is unfortunate we have delayed, but what I know is that the government eventually will pay these funds. However long it takes, it will pay. But we are also looking at the best ways of ensuring that this one is fast-tracked.
At the same time, the 10-member task force formed by the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism set up to look into ways of opening up the wildlife corridor in Nairobi National Park has already begun work.
There are plans to see how we can connect it with the neighboring the sanctuaries and also in the Kapiti Plains and etc., so that we are able to increase the size for the park, so that we are able to keep more animals.
Professor Segor refuted claims that the government has increased park entrance fees, saying the figure have instead been reduced by up to 60% with aim of boosting local tourism. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
A group of youth currently battling drug and substance abuse in Isiolo County is now appealing for support from the county government. The 22 young men formed a support group, but lack of initiatives such as availability of rehabilitation interventions seen their efforts almost eat a snack. The group that is now calling for urgent intervention, has expressed fear of going back into the drug abuse that may further endanger their lives.
Worried of losing it all after indulging in drug abuse for long, these youth, accompanied by their parents in Isiolo town, are now hoping for salvage from the county government.
Tumepata vijana kadhaa, tuliacha vijana karibu 16. Kwa sasa hivi venye tuliacha vijana 16, vijana 5 tu ndo wamefaulu kupigana na hizo mwili yao. Kulingana na hiki kitu ni problem. Iko uchungu, iko pain kwa mwili, lakini mtu wa umu hawezi sikia.
Bado hii dawa huwezi wacha, ndio nimekuambia inasemekananga ukinionja uniwachi. Kwa hivyo kuiwacha ni shida, hata kama tunasema tumewacha, ni ile tu mdomo tunasema tumewacha, lakini ukipata utakula kwa maana uko na shida na unaumwa bado.
Kijana yangu huyu mnaona ametumia hii dawa almost sasa miaka 10 ako na mimi. Kwa sababu mimi sijiwezi, ndio nafungiaga huyu kijana ndani ya nyumba. Leo kijana amekaa design hii, hajielewi kabisa.
Hussein Ibrahim, an addict who chairs a support group initiated to deal with the vice, says it has been a struggle to overcome the addiction due to lack of rehabilitation centers and counseling services within the county.
Umenipata, hiyo dawa tulikuwa tunatumia kuweka kuvuta, tulikuwa tunavuta, lakini saizi tumeipigana naye, tumeiacha. Kwa sasa tumeiacha, iko kwa damu yetu ile vile, lakini tunahitaji serikali juriab, si kitu kurehabilitate, si rahisi hivyo. Tunaomba gava itusaidie na mahitaji kama dawa hivi.
Kulingana hatuna methadone, tunahitaji methadone. Kama Nairobi walipewa methadone, Mombasa walipewa methadone, kwa nini sisi Isiolo tusiletewe methadone? Ama sisi si wa Kenya?
Hawajiwezi ile kiafya, wanataka matibabu. Mimi ningependa kusema hivi, county commissioner, kama una huruma na county yako na vijana yako, hawa watoto watafutie dawa na matibabu. Kuna wengi wanania kufanya kazi, lakini hawaoni mtu akusaidia.
It is a menace that has seen most of them economically unproductive, most of them as old as 40 years, purely depending on their parents for upkeep.
Let's just take a look at some story here where a traditional sorcerer shocked a court in Shanzu, Mombasa County when he disclosed he was paid 55 million shillings by a single client. Elsewhere, irate residents of Mitume slums in Kitale Town, Trans Nzoia County, are demanding answers from security agents following the murder of a businessman whose body was discovered on Tuesday morning.
A section of people following proceedings at a courthouse in Shanzu Court in Mombasa were left in total disbelief after a traditional sorcerer disclosed he was paid as much as 55 million shillings from a single client for services rendered. The revelation came after a cross-examination by his lawyer Kinyua Kamunya, who wanted him to explain to the court how he acquired his fleet of 10 luxury vehicles worth 30 million shillings, impounded in his compound in Eldoret after his arrest in Mombasa. Elsewhere, irate residents of Mitume slums in Kitale Town, Trans Nzoia County, are demanding speedy investigations into the murder of a local businessman. Paul Wangige alias Machone is suspected to have been killed during curfew hours. His body was found on Tuesday by his neighbors.
Ni kitendo ambacho kina machungu kwanza sisi wasasi, kwa sababu kesho hujui ni mtoto ya nani atafanyiwa hivyo kitendo hiyo tena.
Meanwhile, police in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County have arrested a suspect who is said to be behind a spate of cattle thefts in the area. The suspect was apprehended after his attempt of selling 6 cows stolen from Yamumbi area was foiled.
Mayanja ndio hizo ng'ombe mbili zilikuwako. Tulipofika Mayanja ikawa iko mshukiwa mmoja akashikwa pale, na baada ya kumhoji akatuambia ng'ombe mbili amepeana sehemu za Bungoma Township. Tukarudi hapo Bungoma Township.
And the Directorate of Criminal Investigation has been asked to probe a private developer said to be behind fraudulent schemes to register internally displaced persons in Nakuru. Kenya National IDP Network Secretary Lucy Njeri
says the alleged developer was also implicated in a plot where fake IDPs were compensated at the expense of genuine victims of the 2007-2008 post-election violence. In Laikipia, the row between Governor Ndiritu Muriithi and 34 doctors who were sacked mid last year continues to deepen after the medics faulted the county government for not honoring a recent ruling by the Public Service Commission that ordered their effective reinstatement and payment of all their dues.
As a union, we are expecting to have a discussion, or a severe discussion with the county once they obeyed the decision of the PSC and make the service, the doctor's life easy.
Finally, Safaricom Foundation has donated PPEs worth 1.5 million shillings to the county government of Kericho to be distributed to the frontline medics in a bid to scale up the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. The foundation has so far donated the PPEs to 24 counties.
We are receiving a consignment of personal protective equipment PPEs courtesy of Safaricom Foundation. This token is worth 1.5 million Kenya shillings and comprises 380 pieces of N95 masks and 196 coveralls.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
We are taking another break. When we come back, business news.
Kitwek FM, Kegosin.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Welcome back. The National Youth Service is targeting to generate 1 billion shillings annually through farming. Public Service Principal Secretary Mary Kimonye says part of the strategy entails equipping National Youth Service with modern farming technology to cultivate the 3,396 acres of land at the Athi River Station.
2 years ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave the National Youth Service a green light to undertake enterprise and commercial activities after signing into law the National Youth Service Act of 2018. To this end, the National Youth Service plans to increase land under farming in Athi River Station from the current 300 acres to 3,396 acres.
Land NYS as is expansive. If we could sort the issue of unreliable power and water, we will expand. And I think they have great plans to increase the acreage, especially for cotton, horticulture.
The NYS projects to generate 1 billion shillings from agricultural activities, up from the current 40 million shillings annually.
We have given NYS a target of 1 billion to generate 1 billion from the farms.
The turnaround strategy will see NYS leverage on irrigation and equipping recruits with modern equipment to engage in farming.
We have a fruit farm project where we plant pawpaws, we have the oranges, we have the avocados, we also plant maize.
Public Service Principal Secretary Mary Kimonye says this will go a long way in boosting the country's food security that has been negatively affected by pest infestation and unreliable rains.
Now we have a directive now from the government that if we need something, we buy it from government institutions. For example, all the rice our institutions need, we buy from where? Anything being farmed by NYS, we buy from them.
In its commercial expansion strategy, the NYS plans to scale up operation of some of its industries, including the water bottling venture. Benson Riopa reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Safaricom has expanded its strategic collaboration with MGES as the two firms seek to leverage on joint technology development, expertise sharing, co-creation of solutions and market support. Beyond offering access to clean and affordable gas to millions of Kenyans, MGES aims at tackling the health challenges caused by the reliance on smoke-emitting fuels. Under the deal between Safaricom and MGES, customers pay for the gas in small amounts, addressing the challenge of high upfront cost of a cooker, gas cylinder, and regular refills.
Taking this latest technology to serve ordinary Kenyans, not sort of elite somewhere, but we're serving our customers in Mukuru Kwajenga using NB-IoT. And that to me is just such a fantastic storyline, how we're working together and using technology to impacting lives.
About innovation is about combining digital and innovation and technology to bring together solutions that can make a difference. There's no question about expanding what we are offering to customers beyond our connectivity solutions, beyond our M-Pesa solutions, to bring together to solve solutions that impact customers every day.
Women entrepreneurs should embrace e-commerce to navigate against the distorted value chain occasioned by measures instituted to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Women Work Network co-founder Isis Nyongo says technology, especially mobile money, will ensure business operate optimally.
According to the MasterCard Foundation, women-led businesses in the service industry have been worst affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, with some of the enterprises closing shop. In a bid to protect startups, MasterCard Foundation, in collaboration with the Women Work Network, will disburse 1.5 billion shillings interest-free loans to 25,000 women startups in Kenya.
We know a lot of people are losing their jobs. We know that there's a lot of economic uncertainty. So this isn't the opportunity for someone to be able to hold on to jobs that they might need to let people go, or also to have working capital to be able to enable their businesses to continue. So
typically the disbursement sizes will be 31,200 Kenyan shillings. You could request for less, but we will be looking at specific case-by-case basis of businesses that require more than that amount.
The cash will mainly target businesses with an annual turnover of less than 5 million shillings.
Because these are really emergency short-term loans payable back within 2 months, if somebody borrows money, pays back within that time frame, they can reapply again, as long as the overall kitty still has funds.
Under the initiative, beneficiaries will not need collateral for the loan in a move to make loans accessible and cheaper.
Need to pay interest on that loan. So one of the things that we really want to make sure that this loan is designed for is that it is accessible. And so we're not collecting any collateral. So we don't need any collateral from you. And the second thing is that it's an interest-free loan. And once you pay, you can always reapply for the same amount.
Startups have been urged to embrace e-commerce to mitigate against movement restrictions aimed at reducing the spread of COVID-19.
If their business was already digitized, doing really well, and a lot of them saying, this has been a stark hit on reality that first we need to digitize our business. We need to be able to access more customers. Our sales are not doing so well. We don't know how to keep the business alive without cash flows.
Beneficiaries of the interest-free loans will be trained on management and bookkeeping. Benson Riopa reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Facebook has threatened to stop users from sharing news content in Australia as it prepares for a new law forcing it to pay publishers for their articles. Regulators in Australia want tech giants like Facebook and Google to pay for the content reposted from news outlets. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines in our international business news roundup.
Google has warned its users that its search services could be dramatically worse as a result of new regulations in Australia. Facebook's latest move to block news sharing in Australia has escalated tensions between tech firms and regulators. The social media network says that if the proposed legislation becomes law, it will stop Australians from sharing news on Facebook and its subsidiary Instagram. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission has drawn up the rules to level the playing field between the tech giants and publishers that it says are struggling due to lost advertising revenue. Elsewhere, video conferencing app Zoom has seen its revenue skyrocket and second quarter profits more than double due to the coronavirus crisis that saw more people embracing virtual meetings. Revenues shot up 335% to $663.5 million for the 3 months ending 31st July, while profits soared to $186 million. Video conferencing apps remain crucial due to the increase in remote working. Key to Zoom's success was its ability to add paying customers. Zoom, together with rivals Cisco, Webex, and Microsoft Teams, have all seen a surge in usage of their video conferencing platforms since coronavirus lockdown measures were imposed by multiple countries in March. Finally, Samsung heir Lee Jae-yong is facing fresh charges over his role in a 2015 merger deal at the tech giant. South Korean prosecutors accused Lee of using stock and accounting fraud to try to gain control of the Samsung Group, claims which Lee denies. In 2017, Lee was found guilty of separate charges in relation to the deal, including bribery, but his 5-year prison sentence was suspended. In June, state prosecutors sought to arrest Lee for the second time over the controversial merger in 2015 of two Samsung businesses, Samsung C&T and Cheil Industries. It follows his 2017 conviction over the merger, which sparked a political and business scandal in South Korea, including the resignation and conviction of former President Park Geun-hye.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Lauren, is that you?
It's me.
The number of women killed is not 375. The real number is probably closer to 5,000.
5,000.
Some girl escaped.
This girl was attacked, strangled, buried, and left for dead. And she crawled out of her own grave. She wants to find the guys who did this. I will not let anything happen to you. And I will find this man. This is an important story.
Your story is destroying her. And they will kill you.
On the next episode of Ashoka.
Pen is mightier than the sword. Till date, I fought using my sword. But tomorrow I shall fight using words. Words and a blade are alike. A strike from the sword can never be taken back.
Ashok! Sushim!
On the next episode of Corner.
Mother. Habari mother.
Mom.
Nisamehe kwa kukosa kusalamia mkono ule ukuumiza.
Tunaweza try. Ndio tunataka.
I want to be happy. Nataka ukuwe happy pia.
We are not quitters.
Ukienda hautaona ndoto yako tena.
Jamani tafadhali.
Wangu si loji, mtu akutumia alafu tupo nje.
Can you please shut up and listen for once?
How dare you speak to us like
Louis, I'm tired.
On the next episode of
Kama ulijua huwezi kunilisha mimi, mbona ulinitoa kwetu? Kwa nini ulinioa na kuuliza? Fani ya mwanamke huku kwetu, ni akaendane, mwanaume naye atoke zake akachume. Umeelewa? Mwanaume tena kama wewe vile, lakini ni tajiri wewe. Sisi hatosheki. Nyinyi wanaume ndio wabaya. Nyinyi hata hamridhiki kabisa, hata mfanywe nini.
Ukiona paka majani, hiyo nyumbani hashibi.
Tujali kazi zenu
Time for sport. Gor Mahia has signed former Western Steamer FC striker Benson Omala on a 5-year deal. Omala shown during the 2019-2020 season where he scored a total of 9 goals, helping Western Steamer to a 7th place finish in the Kenyan Premier League standings. Omala's goal-scoring form peaked with the former Kisumu Day Secondary School student best remembered for a hat-trick against Kericho FC in December 2019. For this outstanding performance, he was voted the best player of the month by the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya. Jack Omala is expected to fill the void left by Uganda striker Juma Balinya, who exited the club this week, and will partner with another new arrival in Tito Kelo, acquired from Vipers FC Uganda. The acquisition of Omala brings to 6 the number of players the defending champions have signed ahead of the 2020-2021 campaign. Gor Mahia has subsequently seen 6 players depart the club for greener pastures. Tokyo Marathon organizers are weighing the possibility of rescheduling next year's race to September should the coronavirus appear likely to remain an obstacle by the usual date in March. The organizers restricted this year's event to elite competitors in response to the coronavirus pandemic, but have indicated they are against excluding general entry runners for a second year in a row. General entrants who were excluded from this year's race were given automatic entry to next year's event. The Tokyo Marathon is one of the 6 world marathon majors. This year's races in Boston, Berlin, Chicago and New York have all been cancelled, while the London Marathon will feature only elite runners after being postponed from April to October. The national rugby team is set to get financial boost from World Rugby as they prepare to take part in the Tokyo 2021 Olympics. World Rugby has announced details of Rugby 7's investment strategy to optimize the sports preparation for and participation at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, now scheduled for July next year. In a significant boost to unions and players, the International Federation is making a dedicated initial investment of $2.5 million to support Olympic qualified national unions prepare for the Olympic Games. That does it for us for this edition of Channel One News Hour. We do thank you very much for joining us. And of course, you can always stay up to date with breaking news on Twitter at KBC Channel One, on our website as well, kbc.co.ke. The biggest story there, Judge Njagi Marete cleared by tribunal. There are also stories to do with tobacco, where users have been urged to prioritize their health and quit their habit. COVID-19 is also still making headlines there. A lot to see on the website kbc.co.ke. And on behalf of the team here, we do thank you very much for keeping us company. My name is Edward Kabasa. My sign language interpreter has been Lensa Odingo. We leave you in the hands of Irene Muchuma Odim with the day's weather forecast.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to Channel 1 Weather Updates. My name is Irene Mchuma Odim. We are in the month of September, one that will be characterized with dry weather conditions. Temperatures will rise gradually across the country, and with this, warmer conditions will prevail, save for a few areas in Nairobi, western parts of the country, Nyeri and Meru counties, where there will be scattered wet conditions, and these will only be occasional. And starting this week, as we approach towards the end, we'll experience showers of a few places in the county of Nairobi, Meru and Nyeri, and the western parts of the country will continue to experience wet conditions, but then these will be limited to a few places. Tomorrow, during the morning hours, the whole country will experience sunny conditions, save for a few areas around northwestern parts of the country, and this is in Lodwar, where there will be rains over a few places. This would change during the afternoon hours, but the showers accompanied by thunderstorms will be limited to a few areas. This will be in Kitale, Eldoret, Kisii, Bungoma, Kericho, and also a few areas in Narok and Nakuru. Temperatures are fluctuating as most parts of the country will experience sunny conditions during the afternoon hours. Lodwar and Mandera will experience highs of 35 degrees Celsius. Residents in Kisumu will experience highs of 28, and for you in the capital, expect highs of 25 degrees Celsius. That is our weather here in the home country. How about you cross the borders and have a look at the international forecast? Do have a good night and a lovely day ahead.